second by Christian, discussion, thanks, Tom. Motion carried. The housing panel. Where are we at that now, Charlie?
So the background of this agenda item was just a letter from John Umbro.
Yeah,
So that's in the package. Basically what it's saying is they're asking for more time to complete the final report.
okay,
I don't think it mentions in the letter, but just due to the campaign period and just the nature of this year, they're hoping to do a thorough, mainly focusing on the citizen engagement as best they can.
yeah.
Basically moving it into November instead of September. So that's the ask, is an extension of the scope of the panel's work.
Okay, does that one then? 8D, approval of MOU for Indigenous Housing and Homeland Relationship Decision, Charlie Clown.
So, to start out with this one, basically this work has been completed by Stephen and.
Oh, I did mine already.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so Stephen and Jim have been working on the second, bringing Stephen to speak to it.
Hello, I'm being nosy. How you got you? Good. Thank you.
Where would you like to sit?
I'll sit right here.
Okay.
Thanks, Kim.
You're welcome.
So Stephen, we're just starting the MOU for the Eco Trust. Okay. So I'll start, I guess, and reach out to Stephen after. So basically, some more background to what was provided. So Eco Trust ran an initiative called Standing Tree to Stand Home. The Housing First Nations was a part of that many years ago. So that was, the main intention of that is to utilize local resources within a 50-kilometer radius to construct your housing, and just more of a way of doing and planning housing. So that was a good initiative. Feedback I got from Pamela was that they found it hard to get grants or additional money for such initiative. They felt that EcoTrust as the entity leading that wasn't successful as it was in the First Nations organization. So the newest energy, they're trying to, it's an initiative through EcoTrust. If it's successful, they're hoping to start a social enterprise with it, but it's just getting partnerships with First Nations through their new initiative, and it would be an entity, Indigenous Housing and Homelands. Their attempt at this is more successful in getting support and funding for basically using local resources to construct mainly our housing, but our buildings. So what's asked today is basically just it's a relationship thing, a strategic thing. Basically approving the MOU. There's no financial implications, just a relationship. And yeah, there's been some work over the months working with this team and / Pamela. I fully support it. I believe a lot of us agree with this mindset and this the goals of utilizing the resources in our own wood for our home. So with that, I pass it over to Stephen and Jim. Anything else you wanted to add?
Not too much. I think you've covered it all. Generally, it'll be a larger initiative and just supporting grant opportunities for them to be able to acquire funding to develop their organization and capacity within it. I believe one of the grants is going to be able to facilitate hiring of full-time staff or a project manager to be able to support the program. It will have benefits in helping future housing design using, like Charlie said, local materials and such like that. So trying to find cost-effective methods to be able to construct housing using local materials. I got nothing else.
One question, related. In regard to our housing, when are we building the housing? What I'm waiting.
Yeah. So that's coming in another.
That coming in
yeah,
another,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I was looking to see where it might be coming up. Where is it gonna be coming?
8, agenda. Sorry, 8, I.
Okay, good, thanks.
So another point, last point, I guess, it's kind of neat. Ourselves and Eastern First Nation will be the first in Canada in, doing this partnership, so it's definitely will be leading the way. Proud part of it, but.
Do you need a motion, Charlie? Oh, sorry.
I just have a question, just for clarity, under decision-making, it says subject to eventual agreed upon governance structures and protocols for an independent IHH entity. EcoTrust Canada maintains the right to make decisions in relation to the staffing, budgets, project management, and development of the IHHH initiative, which do not directly impact in any way strategic partners. So, like, what exactly, because if we're going in with them, what is it that they make decisions on solely?
Well, I think, from my understanding, the social enterprise will be an entity that has different partnerships. There'll be 2 right away, possibly, over time, there'll be more in Canada. But that, it would be just basically a social enterprise business that's basically trying to build up their capacity and with success, keep offering, building the partnerships really would be the goal. So really it would just be, like, basically it's it would be a subsidiary of EcoTrust, like its own entity. So it'd be operating on their own, but basically through a different mindset of grants and the funding.
That's what I'm just trying to understand, is if we're going in with them, how, I just need to be clear what, how it's set up that it's separate, I guess.
With them, like with EcoTrust?
Yeah, because, I mean, I don't know, it just, because it says for an independent, what is the, Indigenous housing and homeland relationship. So how is our relationship, I'm just wondering how we're in a relationship that they are the decision makers and independent.
I think it's more of their, I'll let you actually speak on this, but as far as my interpretation of it is they would be making decisions on implementing generally how they would support and the initiatives that they would implement to be able to help us develop our housing strategies and such like that. I think Jim actually has a little more information.
Yeah, essentially, we're supporting 2 grant applications actually for the organization. And both of them will, if they're successful, require staff to implement them. But the staff that are being hired eventually for this purpose will be their staff. So they will make decisions around how they hire the staff, the management and all of that. We're supporting partners, and our role might be, for instance, to provide input and all of that, but there's no financial implication on any of the staffing or anything else for the nation.
Okay, so, I'm still confused, maybe it's just me. I understand that part, but what are we? Are we just saying, yeah, we agree, and you come into our territory and build houses and work with, you know, our citizens and they benefit? Or, like, I'm just trying to figure out what the relationship is.
Well, the relationship is essentially a partnership between the two organizations. Our role in it is to provide the input to the IHH so that they can, again, develop a process for developing Indigenous housing. So we're supporting that initiative, but we're not directly involved in the grant applications and getting funding. So the funding doesn't come to us, it goes to them, they hire the staff, and the staff are there to help us meet our own needs.
So I think create initiatives and processes to help us look at housing management, also investment and say just long-term upkeep and such like that. They kind of, it's like a housing, not authority, but advisory board is, and it's so it's more looking at like an eco-trust. That's a nonprofit society that will help us develop like initiatives and support implementation of things, development of housing, design and structure like that at zero or reduced cost. Is kind of where is how they support or how we work in coincide with them.
So then what this does is our future planning, for example, of the subdivision, we are saying that we're working just with them.
No, not in any way. We would just utilize them as a tool in the toolbox to say, oh, hey, we want to build these, and we would say work together with them to, I don't know, create a housing plan or a design, and then we would take that plan for free and we could implement it as we saw fit. And it's more like just a supporting tool in the development of the housing strategy. And we're going into partnership in the way that we're supporting their initiative to kind of create this organization and or form this organization and then and support their initiatives going forwards. But we're not actually a
Financial partner.
yeah. We're just we would just reap the benefits from them being able to support our initiatives moving forwards. It's kind of how, like with free design and other such things like that.
Okay, John, oh, sorry,
I'm still trying to figure it out. Because it, to me, and maybe John, you can add to it, but to me, it seems like it's not really, like we've already paid for companies to do work and, you know, we've paid a lot of money and I'm just wondering what the difference is for it seems like, oh, we're gonna get something for free, but there's nothing for free.
Well, sorry, Connie, what we're providing is essentially the relationship which allows them to get the grants. So ourselves and another nation are the two leading nations in the country that they're taking forward as an example on a national strategy. So we're seen as an important partner because of the advancements we've made. I can't really speak to the relationship with the housing panel. I mean, will take that into, you know, the recommendations there into consideration as we move forward. So all of that will hopefully all fit together. So.
John,
So my understanding of this, what's partially been explained already, that this group is going to be coming in and providing for us a way to have a plan, but it's our job to partially direct what we want from that plan.
Yeah, and we would be able to use them for any portion that we saw fit, kind of thing.
Okay, so I don't disagree that we do have plans and have done work. However, not a lot of work has been done on the specific design components of the community. It's just build houses, but not how, or not how they're oriented, or what aspects are going to be thought of in regards to planning the community yet. So if we can bring some sort of value from that, then that would be good. So this sounds like they're running off of a government grant from somewhere,
Absolutely.
but they need partners to move forward. So
Definitely.
they're motivated to create a plan that they could develop on behalf of the government that can be used with other First Nations.
Yeah.
Our nation and the other Eastern nation would be the ones that would benefit from it. We're not exclusive with them. We can guide what we want from them.
Absolutely.
it really looks like the cost here is just taking the time to work with them rather than develop it ourselves. And even if we were going to develop it ourselves, that would cost money in addition to the time, and we'd have to find the people to do it.
Definitely, and we can strategize exactly where we would implement them, like meaning that if we do feel that we have something developed up to a point, we would not put the resources towards that, where we could, and you're right with the designs here, looking at utilizing local materials and such like that is a different type of design and framing. So there it takes a different type of engineering that goes into it. So being able to come up with adequate designs to be able to utilize the local materials is kind of a bonus. I see this with no real or no cost to us, and then the bonuses that they speak of, it all looks pretty good to me in the way that it's another tool that we can use at nominal or no cost to be able to support our long-term strategies. They also will help us come up with like solid long-term maintenance and replacement plans, such like that. Like kind of using templates and such like that we would be able to, they'd be able to implement at every nation, or such like that. Those are the types of strategies I believe they would be implement.
Okay, so I have one more then. So my understanding of the decision-making component of the agreement has more to do with the idea that the EcoTrust IAH people get to decide who they hire to do their end of the work, for the most part.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't say anything in regards to who we assign to do the work on our end.
No.
Okay.
So it's not, they wouldn't be picking and choosing between each nation of who they want to support. It's wholeheartedly supportive. And so, meaning that when they're making those decisions, exactly like you stated, it's internal decisions on their existing, workforce or such like that.
So my last question then is, does this organization have the capacity to actually help?
Well, yes, that's a simple answer. And each of the grants applications that are in are fairly substantial, several $100,000, and they'll use those funds both to hire staff, to be located in the nation, within the nation, but also, in their home office. They do this kind of work on a regular basis. They do housing design now and have done it. So they do have the capacity, yes.
So EcoTrust does this. But what they're trying to do is to create a separate authority that totally works with First Nations to help them develop. And it's not an authority, it's a, I don't know, what you would quantify them, cooperative. But they see a need in the way that there's not this type of support for First Nations to be able to develop and move this ahead that has, it's kind of encompassed all in one. So they just identified a need and they're, lost where I was going with that. It's really good.
That's fine.
Okay. Trevor?
Just two questions. So Jim, is there any kind of business components to this, the reason why the active side playing a part?
Possibly as they move forward. You'll recall the discussions we've had at EDC about sawmills, like custom sawmills and things like that.
Okay.
And that at that point, as we move through this process and decide what needs to be done, that kind of activity would come up.
That's how ACTEV is working on this with us, because we were looking at and exploring the sawmill, and EcoTrust has this all encompassed in one as the standing tree to standing home. So we're trying to look at utilizing local materials from a 50-kilometer radius to bring down the cost of construction, or at least utilize some of our local materials to support it. So that's how Jim got suckered in to help me out here.
The second question then for Charlie then is, this kind of fit within your plan, within your portfolio?
Yes.
So, Charlie, you've made a recommendation, are you prepared to move?
Prepared to move.
Okay, moved by Charlie, seconded by John, discussion? Fun?
I just have one more question, and that is, so then this group will help or support us so that we don't have, well, we're gonna bring a trailer and we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. It's gonna make it all, like, there's gonna be some plan to what we're building or bringing in, or?
Part of the puzzle, I believe,
Yeah,
not the
that's
full.
what I would call it,
Okay.
it's developing a portion of this overall housing plan.
It'll be,
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
a tool in the toolbox to help contribute to the bigger
Yeah.
thing.
Okay.
But they will be able to give us information and provide, resource there to support the development of pretty much everything we're looking to do housing wise, so should be good.
Oh, sorry, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question about, because it mentions of local materials and,
Yeah.
so I'm just curious about what our role is on, in regards to that in terms of identifying the inventory, like, are we in a position, you know, to say, for example, because that's my interest too, is to be in a position where we could, you know, create, and Uncle Ben's here, and he's always told us, you know, we build houses up, we don't build houses with the material and trees that are off our own territory.
Yes.
So are we in a position, you know, recognizing that, the Hawaiian government has responsibility to that, but also we have a forest company as well with, our Hawaiian group of businesses, so it feels like there's some connectors there in terms of, you know,
Absolutely.
identifying that inventory, and are we in a position, who does that work?
So I did talk to Maureen about it and looking at quantification of material moving forwards, trying to be able to resource the material for a sawmill. With some of the accelerating cut that we're looking at and such like that, and other such items, TFL and such like that, that there could be quantity available to support a project, but I haven't been able to delve into it far enough to be able to see if we have enough quantity to be able to produce enough material at economy of scale. We're actually bringing the material cost down to market or below value. That's kind of a bigger, or we haven't gotten to that point in the feasibility of the mill yet, but we have started to look at,
So that could be a potential cost on our end?
yeah.
To identify that and do that work?
Yeah, and I think that, you know, moving ahead with the mill will definitely have to run, not a massive feasibility, but it'll be a feasibility study that coincides with the forestry department and such like that to try to determine. And I think that no matter what, depending on the quantity of materials that we'll be able to acquire, we'll be able to do some milling and some supply of it. It's just the quantity that we would need to be able to build the houses that we need. Not certain if we have that available.
Yeah, at this point,
Here's my suggestion, that we got a motion on the floor.
Okay.
Yes,
That
sorry.
this part that you're talking about, let's refer that to further discussion,
Okay.
because please, you're raising a very important point.
Absolutely.
Where is that wood gonna come from? So
Yeah.
that's some discussion we can have in September, okay? But
Sounds
right
good.
now, this is approving this process. So any more discussion on the
I just wanted some clarification on the implication, it's got implications. Motion,
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
What is that, what is the connection to HFN fisheries and aquaculture that could be misdirected without the understanding of HFN vision?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, you got implicated,
You got
I was kind of
implications
scratching my
there.
head when I see that one.
sorry,
Negotiations
that's my
and-
fault for probably not doing the briefing note properly.
Okay.
It has no implications for fishery.
Yeah, no, it's like, there are a number of discussions and
Making sure
negotiations.
there's
and
enough
relations
spawning,
and-
trees, growth.
Okay, that's off,
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be on there? Okay.
Part of it.
But I recommend you guys review your briefing documents more thoroughly when you get there. I just say that, you, okay. Okay, any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none, motion carried. On to AP. Oh, sorry, fine.
No, I just wanted to thank Charlie and Stephen and Jim. I was really not connecting what it really was there, and so the discussion helped to flesh that out for me. Thanks.
I have no problem answering questions.
Okay, AE, approval, infrastructure policy regulation, Charlie.
So it'll be short and sweet. Basically, all that we're really doing is just adding some projects and hopefully pushing some projects along. As you probably all know, I'm a champion of implementing our infrastructure policy, and this is just part of that. So, to me, anytime we want to start talking about projects, you know, and we identify projects as a possible need, we need to officially put them on the list so they can start officially talks and planning. So basically today there's a few that I'm hoping to add, and there's a few that I'm hoping to start pushing to a feasibility study stage. So, and also in it, I'm hoping just for technical side of it, just to rename Sixplex to just a housing. So in our capital, in our list, it says Sixplex, but, so I'm hoping to do that officially, just to change that. So yeah, basically, I'm hoping to add Anakla Child Care Center as a project.
Yep.
Pachina River Walking Bridge. As mentioned in the briefing note, it was on the list at one point. We got to a design stage, and at the time, we eventually took it off the list. So that's just on, just to continue it, and just kind of main reason for that, I link it to a project like the trail, where the initial thought of the trail to Banfield was like 1.5 million as a project. That project could have easily been just gone in the wind forever, but we kept on it. We looked for grants. We got it down to a $500,000 project. We got 50% funding, and it got done. So I'm hoping that this, putting it back on the list will bring life to it.
I'll second.
Yeah, okay, you go move it?
Okay.
And then John will second discussion? Okay, John?
I had a couple of questions. The first question is just, are you adding these items just to the future projects part of the list?
Yeah, the possible
Okay.
projects, yeah.
And, and I really like the idea of the Pachina River Walking Bridge. Will the scope of that project also be switchbacks or trail up the hill as well? Is
Yeah.
that kind of the idea? Okay. And there was one more thing. No, I lost it. It's okay.
Will be daycare?
Oh, integration with elders. Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So elder childcare
Right,
integration?
actually, so, thank you for pointing that out. So the agenda item that I added today is about policy, elders care policy, but also in that brief note, I think it's worth putting on our list, an elders care facility. So we could either do it through that brief note or through this one, but adding elder care facility on the list. And that could be, like, to me, that allows us to slowly get to the feasibility, look at it in an act, look at it in Port Alberni, start talking about what kind of program we link to it, and start to see costs. So I would be interested in adding that in this brief note to make it all in one, but,
So,
Sorry, an elders care facility?
yeah.
so adding it on to the list, is that what we're doing? Yeah.
Who's coming
coming
shortly?
Yeah, but there'd be another project.
Okay.
Oh, and don't forget the name change. You want to do the name change, right?
Yeah.
The motion doesn't have the name change in here, so that should be number 2.
And then the last one for
I don't have
adding
a motion in front of me.
is Pachina Bay, I'm just calling it Pachina Bay Cultural Center. Yeah, Cultural Center. So basically, I think we all know there's some talks with Parks Canada on partnering on a new facility in the area. Again, I think we should add this just so we can continue that talk. We can't really go anywhere without it, so we should add that, or whatever we want to call it, Cultural Center.
Yeah.
And again, these projects might never happen, they're just putting them on the possible list.
That's good enough.
Okay, any more discussion?
2 more points, quick ones, sorry. So moving projects into the next stage. So our Poorhouse of Hawaiians has had funding every year since the beginning of time, and it never seems to make the top 10 list, and they just never get to, utilize the money elsewhere. So we all know, we all have different opinions of the House of Hawaiian upgrades that needed, but basically I'm hoping for us to start picking away at pricing. We can never really get anywhere without knowing, so there's been talks about a generator for it, a walk-in freezer, a walk-in cooler.
Yeah.
We have to do log protection coming up. That's a pretty big project. Flooring has been there. And even for me, I put on here, looking at what it would take to do an addition for something, and we would, evaluate the building, see what infrastructure could handle on it. So I'm hoping for us to push this to the feasibility stage, and start looking at the list that's, there.
It's noon. Garrett? I knew it was you. John? another Italian chips that I can't read the name. Sorry. 2-piece halibut and chip.
Me, 1, 2.
Robert?
That was the other.
What was the name change from
The
other one?
Yep, just the other.
Couldn't read your name. Maybe it's just me. There you go.
Ben, you wanna share?
Sure.
Sure, why not, huh? There's an extra one right here. There's an extra one
Charlie,
right
any
at the end. Oh, you got a chair there. Wanna pull in?
Charlie?
Maybe just the last one on the list there. So in our capital budget this year, there's a line item for a school bus. Let's talk about it, and I'm just hoping for us to move that along. Basically, there's money for it. And, you know, the school year right around the corner, us having August off, I'm hoping to push this or just start the dialogue again of getting it. I think we all know the situation, but.
Good.
Okay. So, yeah, in my mind, basically, you know, I think the most important piece for the leadership is, what is our expected 5-year growth for our kids? And basically, coming from the fleet management side, we shouldn't be getting a 7-year, 100-person bus that hauls around, that would need to trade in 5 years. We want some turnover in our fleet to get, so I think the next 5 years, whatever we expect the growth is, we should purchase a bus that's that size.
So that's all for the motion. Any more discussion on the motion?
I just want to say, that part that you're talking about in terms of the bus and the 5-year projection, I think should be Elizabeth, part of the discussion about the road, you know, in terms of, us trying to achieve the goal of our strategic plan to move our citizens home, and recognizing that schooling and education is one that removes children from our community. But with the road improvement, we could look at investments like what Charlie's talking about, to have, with an improved road, we can look at options of busing our children from the community to Polo Burnie. So I just wanted to add that to the discussion. Thanks, Charlie. Yeah.
Okay, any more
Trevor.
discussion then? And that's the raise for their, he's having challenge.
For greater certainty, we're doing adding the 4 projects, we're renaming housing, and then we're also moving the House of Kuwait and the school bus item to feasibility stage. Okay, those are the 3 things? Okay.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. Hearing no more discussion, motion carries. Okay, shall we break for lunch? Enjoy the lunch, so I can give, here's our call. What happened to me?
That's okay.
Good job. Okay, my friend.
A couple of concerns and something that has come up with my grandson down there, Bill, and he's had a couple of 4 applications put into the house, and somebody else pulls it out of the file and gets rid of it. I don't think that's right. He wants to live down there. It's one of the things that I wanted to bring up to the council, the chief council, to look into things like that. It shouldn't happen. I don't know why they do that. Maybe I have the wrong name, I don't know. Wrong last name. You know, we're all one family down there. Nephews, they're my nephews. Lots of, another thing I want to bring up is something I brought up at the all candidates meeting. My concerns at the time was question to Robert at the time to do with the drinking and drugging and drinking and driving down there. It sounds pretty bad from what I hear from different people. And I asked Robert if we can do something about it. And we gotta start looking to doing something about it. Gotta work with the police. That's how it's gonna work. And you're also gonna have to work with the hereditary chiefs to back you up. And it can be done. I realize we have a pub there and we sell liquor in the store. But what I'm talking about is I don't want any more liquor on reserve. They can drink all they want when they're out there. And I don't want to see that carry on when my good grandchildren grows up to be teenagers, for them to see what's going on. I mean, this drinking and driving is dangerous. I mean, they could kill somebody and themselves as well. Some of them, when they're drinking, they're traveling pretty fast. It's dangerous, and those are my two concerns I wanted to bring up with the council. So if you can start on that sometime soon, I'm going to keep after you about it until we do something about it. So please look into it and work on it. And that's my concerns today with our kids that's going to be grown up on reserve. We're always talking about healthy living down there, but we've got to start somewhere, right? It can be done. It has been done in different villages. I've seen on the program, I can't remember if it was on APTN, there was one chief and council in one of the reserves on the mainland was doing the same thing. They were hitting with it, the drug dealers and the drunks. No more booze on reserve. And one time I seen them, there's a parcel that came into the office with somebody's name on it. And the chief and council got curious and they opened it. There's hard liquor, lots of hard liquor in there. They all grabbed one each and spilled it on the ground. So if you work together, it can be done. Don't ever think it can be done. But Hauser did the same thing, and Ron Lake did the same thing. And some of my nephews was brought to center up there. I think it was in Esperanza from Hauser, and there was a whole bunch of them sent up there. And, the ones that were selling booze and drugs to our own people down there. And after a few months, I think it was a year or so later, I seen one of my nephews up at Walmart. I said, Ben, I'm sure glad they sent me up there. I was one of them that was selling drugs and booze to our own kids up there. So don't ever think for 1 minute that it can't be done. It can be done if we work together. That was my concerns. Thank you for listening.
Ben, I really want to thank you for raising this, because I know, just on the first one, Philip, I know he moved down there, him and his wife moved down there, and Catherine kept working at the restaurant when she could, and Philip done the same thing. They got 6 kids, and they're living in a small house.
Yeah.
And it seems to me, it doesn't matter what your name is. It's unfortunate his name is Dennis. Okay. And that should have nothing to do with it.
Yep.
We have a Hawaii citizen that has 6 kids, is in bad need of a house. No name attached to it. That's how we gotta deal with it. And the reason I know this happens is that my brother kept coming up to me about housing. I said, bro, I don't look after housing. I have nothing to do with you. You go see the executive director or whoever you gotta see and work that way. So they done their work. Unfortunately, people think because he's my brother that he got a house. I had nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing. Didn't have a say, and if he didn't get it, I wasn't gonna say anything, because he went through the process. Same thing with Dawn. They, you know, she's my niece, but she kept pushing it. Well, it's sitting empty. And she was telling me what they done. And again, I have nothing to do with whether she got that place or not. And so it's important to put it this way. Don't think just because a person has a last name, he or she has something because that's the chief's name. That's not how it works. What I do is a Dennis family member, if you want something, apply for it. Apply for it. That's the biggest word Sarah and I use in our household. Go apply. Put your name in. Phone up as many times as you can. I don't care how many times you phone. I said, that's how I got things done. I always phone. So anyway, that is attached to some of the discussion. I know it is because it came up in a public meeting that, you know, Lyle got his unit because he's the brother of the chief, and meanwhile that had nothing to do with it. So, and I'll only say it here. I heard it out here. I never said it anywhere else, but this is a meeting. And so I want to say that what we should do as a community, there's people that are living down there, and some of them living in really horrible places because they want to be down there. So when we talk about priority should be on people that are already there. Because the worst thing will happen is somebody comes along, they're from out of town, well, how come they're getting treatment when these people have already been here? So I really urge that we're developing the policy, that it's people that are already there. And some of them have been there quite a while. Charlie, your sister needs a place. Do something about it. Yeah, doesn't matter who it is. It's our people need housing. We gotta get out of this old colonial culture of family against family. That's not what it's about. Crystal Claps needs a house. Get her a house. Lyle, that's his name? No, Philip Dennis needs a house. Got 6 kids. Get him a house. So that's what I want to say, that we'll look at in that policy, and I'm glad you said that the last name of the person shouldn't be affected.
In the village, driving in our private site stroke. I was pretty upset. There was probably 12 kids in that area, including mine. So I was not, as a citizen, as a father, I was pretty pissed. So I waited quite a while before I went back up to the village because, yeah, it's,
Yeah, it's scary, I know, it's scary for our kids, that's why I brought it up. I remember back in 1940, going back a little ways, 1940, and we had one guy looking after the village in Cerrito. His name was Kenneth Joe. He worked with the police. They appointed him as I don't know if it was a police officer or whatever it was, but he had that duty to look after things like what we're talking about. And growing up there in Cerrito, used to be a lot of us living there, a lot of houses there. And it was pretty quiet, you know. I could see looked after things, and the police would come maybe once a week in their boat, and they'd go right to his house and meet with him. So
Heather, if we could do some kind of communication on this, an elder has come to the executive council meeting, communicate the action that's being taken, and we're looking at this as an urgent matter. And I just wanted, before we give it to Trevor, I'm also aware that we had one citizen who worked at home but could no longer find a place to live, and she just moved back home. And what I do know is that person is willing to move home if she has a place to stay. But that's how dire it is. And we need to deal with that as urgent, important that we get on this housing and try to get our people that need housing at home, get them their housing. Absolutely important. Sure.
I was just gonna add, my mom was there that weekend, so she's actually putting it on the agenda for next week. So whatever work's being done should connect to that. My mom will be more vocal than so I think that's gonna be a critical piece. I think as council, we only have legislative kind of powers to do things, but my plan is to, as a citizen, support Nanaxu and us, because I think it goes beyond just what we do as, from legislation, but what we do as community members, and showing that we don't support people drinking and driving. It's not the idea that I don't think people should drink, it's just that we need to have a safe community, and I'm willing to, as a citizen, put time and effort towards that.
And I think, just on that, Robert, I think that what we can do with that is, because it's the same problem that with the RCMP have, and we have a letter of correspondence in here that says that we did not get another RCMP officer. We just have to put the money up and do it. Motion to adjourn?
So move, seconder, discussion,
So I'm gonna meet with them how we have to do it.